Hello once again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. And before we get into this week's episode, of course, we want to give a shout out to everybody that helps us bring this podcast to you for free on whichever podcast platforms you choose to listen. Thanks to our wonderful new pizza sponsor, the Great Road Tavern. You may have joined us there along with Tommy Rich, as we told you last week. After the AIW shows last month in April. That was a fantastic time. We also had their pizza there. We'll have it again, as far as we know, with the upcoming AIW events, including June 18th's major announcement. Thanks to everybody who's kind of helped us in the past: Thrift Store Jobber, Sean Jaundice with Voodoo Monkey Tattoo, Pollyanna DIY, and of course, thanks to the merger of SmartMark Video and IWTV. Watching AIW has never been easier. You can go to independentwrestling.tv, sign up using the code ABSOLUTE so they know that we sent you. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's $9.99 a month. You can watch countless hours of independent wrestling from all sorts of different promotions. And of course, if AIW is your main cup of tea, go to smartmarkvideo.com and you can purchase any AIW event that was ever recorded in its history on DVD as well as MP4. And with that, with the cordialities out of the way, I don't even know if that's a word. I think I just made it up. But we get into this week's episode. Of course, as always, here AIW owner John Thorne. My name is Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts. And John, last week we talked a lot about
wildfire.
We really didn't talk about
who's got that weed.
We didn't talk about the rest of the show, so that's worth mentioning. But we did make some other announcements this week that maybe we should
on Patreon.
We should touch on first. I think
sure.
A couple of dates for AIW at the end of July.
So I've been, now that it appears that things are going to get as normal as possible in Ohio, the way things have been rolling these past few weeks, which, we've been pretty open about on this podcast. We were going to wait until things started kind of to trend and, move in the right direction before locking all this stuff down. It seems, things have been happening really, really quick. I would say in the last 2 weeks or so. Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
It went from no movement really to June 2nd. All the COVID laws or rules or whatever are kind of null and void. Everything is over. And then last week they just did remove the mask mandate, which I have to say, I went out today for a little bit, and it's kind of weird because people are just out and about with no mask. Stores aren't requiring masks anymore. It's mask recommended. There's a whole new there's all new signage. It's like the COVID rules got new branding in Ohio. Everyone's got this new sign, that says mask recommended. So it's kind of weird to see, honestly, but
yeah, it's basically what it is it's up to the businesses now in Ohio. They're still, it's so weird to say, they're still allowed to require masks in their business, but they don't have to require them, especially after June 2nd, where it's, I mean, I don't know.
I thought that everything was going to be in full effect until June 2nd, and then I guess not, I think capacity things are still in place technically until June 2nd, but it seems like everything else is kind of done. other than the mask thing, like, what was like, I don't even remember what the other rules were because, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was just really about the masks and the capacity things.
Yeah, it was capacity, keeping the distance and whatnot. So, if you go to bars and restaurants, you had to be seated. You couldn't be walking around.
And I think that's still technically in place until June 2nd, but, I mean, it's, I think it seems like it's, going in the right direction finally.
You would hope. A lot of this, where it went crazy, I say crazy, that sounds negative, but where things took a turn was old Mikey D, Governor Mike DeWine, set up Ohio, said, okay, June 2nd, we're going to do this. And then literally it was like a day, 2 days later, Joe Biden's like, well, CDC says if you're vaccinated, you don't necessarily have to wear a mask when you're around other people.
Which seemed to be what the fucking point was the whole time, right? Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Like, get the vaccine and get back to normal. Like,
yeah.
And then they're like, okay, people got the vaccine, and then they just did, like, it was just like, okay, things are still the same. But so now it seems like it's finally like, okay, get the vaccine. Now, if you got the vaccine, things can go back to normal for your life. But with all that said, I started really kind of looking to lock in the schedule, which is a task, because so many companies were running throughout the pandemic, so they have like a full schedule, and if not, they were, and then other companies are in states where the restrictions have eased before Ohio, so they have a full schedule. So it's kind of hard to figure out where AIW fits in, you know what I mean? Because, like, it's now, we have to try to play catch up, and people have been booked already. A lot of our main, talents have, so many bookings. Like, there's, I would say, like, there's people like Matt Justice and Mance and Dom.
Dom, yeah.
They're on every fucking show. It's some week, like, they're booked every weekend. And there's other people like Lee Moriarty, and I'm not singling anybody out, or if you're somebody that's getting booked every weekend, I don't use you as an example. I'm just saying, like, it's really difficult now for us to kind of get back into the groove the way that we want to, so I still think, with that said, I guess I'll preface this whole portion of what I'm about to go over is it's still going to take quite a bit of time for AIW to get back to normal, because, we are playing catch up with, and, my cat, Mr. Whiskers, is yelling into the microphone as well.
Yeah.
We're playing catch up now. So with that said, I have devised somewhat of a plan that people may not like. I don't know. Maybe they will. I'm not sure. Maybe they don't give a shit about it either way. But when trying to come up with dates, and we also want to taper, we still, no matter what, we're not going like, hey, it's after June 2nd, fucking, we're opening the floodgates for capacity. We're not doing that. I have released more tickets to the waiting list, but other than that, we're not going, like, we're not, like, you will not see any more public tickets on sale for June 18th. But what I was going to say is the plan that I came up with after going over the, I guess, or realizing the difficult situation we're in now to play catch up on our dates, is I think it's best for us to continue to postpone our marquee events that were scheduled for 2020, and push them into 2022, unfortunately, because we could do a Gauntlet for the Gold, but it's going to be a Gauntlet for the Gold that's missing,
Everybody.
five marquee players from the roster,
Yeah.
and I think that we can get by this period with, say, okay, Dom can't do this date, but we still have, 90% of the rest of the roster,
Right.
Like, I think that it is manageable to, I don't want to say get by, because that sounds like, that doesn't sound right. But I think we can still put on good kind of standalone events as we're reestablishing everything and kind of rebuilding our foundation throughout, not only, throughout the independent wrestling scene, but, specifically, again, in Cleveland, Ohio, because, we have been off, what was it, like 14 months we were off before those two shows. And yeah, they sold out quick, but I don't know if it was a full capacity show, how much more we would have sold than that 100 tickets, that is the great unknown. So what I think is best is we relaunch the quote unquote AIW season on Black Friday at Hell on Earth. And then we kind of get back into that. And, also, we don't know what is going to happen with the pandemic. It's looking like it's, in the rear view right now, but who knows what's going to happen. So what I'm thinking is, we will still present a schedule from now until November. And we're going to put our best foot forward on those shows. But once, I'm talking about really kicking in like the storylines and the marquee events, Gauntlet, J-Lit, Absolution, Rap Show, all those really, big marquee events that we do. I still don't want to present them in a, kind of like a half-assed manner. So I think it's best if we, kind of get through, the summer, and then we start looking at like really ramping up AIW, starting with Black Friday.
Yeah, and I think this also gives us the opportunity to reintroduce audiences to certain people, or certain people have repackaged themselves, and so there's a reintroduction in that way. There's people that we were just getting them acclimated to. We've brought on new people who now have this opportunity to get introduced to these audiences, and they get comfortable with everybody, get established, and before we kind of get into major storylines, for lack of a better term, and rivalries, and I think we'll end up seeing, probably, you'll answer this better than I would, obviously, but we'll probably see some of that take shape, but maybe just not as what we're used to.
Yeah, and I just think it's like, better to not try to force this stuff. Like, we could very easily go, okay, July's Gauntlet, then August is Rap Show, then September is J-Lit, and then Absolution is October, and then November would be an immediate start over to that whole cycle, and I think that is just too quick, and it's not going to be fair to the audience to rush it, you know what I mean? To rush through it and then restart it all over again. I just think that it's better to kind of let things simmer and slowly taper up, and maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know. Like, I just don't want to rush, like, okay, bang, 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 bang. And then, because it's like, we don't even, necessarily know what we're going to do. But it's like, I could go off of the 2020 plan, and then, boom, it's done. and then boom, we have to restart the cycle again with no thought put into anything, and it's just like, I just think it's better this way. So give me your feedback on it if you think it sucks. If you're one of those people that, and there's quite a few of you people that held on to your gauntlet for the gold tickets, I'm still willing to give you a refund on that. I just think that it's better to kind of wait and work our way to those big events again, because we have to reestablish AIW. We have to reestablish the talent. We have to reestablish a fan base, and we're doing that, 100, 150 at a time. It's going to take a while. Because like I said, even though there's no capacity issues, allegedly after June 2nd, I still would like to keep them in place. Yes, we will allow more tickets. There's more people being vaccinated. But, I still want it to be quite a bit of time before it's, you're jammed in at the Odeon, shoulder to shoulder with people.
Yeah.
I think that's the right move at this point. Some people are going to disagree with that. And it has nothing to do with political beliefs or any of that stuff. It's about, what is right for this business right now. And I think tapering up is going to be the right move. And it's, I also don't want to rush. I don't want to rush storylines. I don't want to rush shows. I don't want to rush, good matches. It's just, I want to wait and build up to it. So with all that said, that's a long-winded way to get to, I really started working on a schedule, and I really started working on, okay, give me your dates, talking to different promoters, like, what dates do you have? What dates do you have? What dates do you have? And I got a giant calendar, and I started trying to moneyball, what are the best dates that we can run right now? And, then you run into the problem of, okay, well, these dates look the best, but then you say, hey, Smart Mark Video, I want to do this date. Well, I don't have everybody's schedule on the calendar, and it's like, well, we're already booked here and here, so then you got to look at another date. Then you move on to a date that another promotion's already running, you have to kind of I started really trying to figure out what's what. And I also started reaching out to different venues, and, people have seen on social media, we're looking for, to be booked for shows. You can book AIW for a show. And that actually happened, shockingly. We were booked for a show, there may be another thing like that in the works right now, but, so we booked July 30th. That will be at the Odeon. That was announced on Patreon. Then we were contacted by an organization, the Great Lakes Geek Festival, and they are bringing AIW to Ashtabula County for the first time, and the date that they wanted is July 31st. So, not by design, but, that's the date that they wanted us. So, we worked out a deal, and, that will now be a double shot weekend with a show in Cleveland and a show at Ashtabula County. I think it's Jefferson, Ohio. I Google mapped it. It's 59 minutes from downtown Cleveland, so not that far.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah, so the important thing to note there is tickets for that are not going to be really on sale through AIW. We're not controlling those. Yeah, they're not setting that.
They're already on sale, actually.
Okay.
Which I had no idea. They sent me a message. We worked out our deal, And all of a sudden, like, Rick Nelson was like, man, sweet, July 31st tickets bought. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I thought that they were going to, once we worked out, some details, I thought they were going to say, like, okay, how do you want to roll this out? And they rolled it out. So, I mean, they have other things besides us that they're trying to, also have happen at this event. So, people keep asking me questions, and, I don't really know that much about it, to be honest. Like, there will be an AIW show there. It will be a full AIW show. Other than that, we're kind of in the same boat right now. Like, they're kind of like local promoters in a sense. They've booked the venue for us, and they've worked all that stuff out. So, we'll get there when we get there. So those are the two set dates. And then, I started kind of working on, like, let's look at it August and September. And I booked a new building for Black Friday, which we were in discussions with last year, because the Odeon always does something big on Black Friday. They always have the same concert every single year on Black Friday, so it's never available. AIW always runs Black Friday as well. So I started looking for new venues 2 years ago. That's how we wound up at the Brook Park Rec Center, and that whole mess that occurred there. But so I booked Black Friday at a new building, and I started kind of looking at different dates, and I've put together a loose kind of 6-month schedule for AIW, and we're still kind of working on, can we get back to the Tadmor Shrine this year? Can we maybe do some smaller weeknight shows at the Winchester? So, there's a lot of kind of balls, and going in different directions in different courts.
And I believe, so right now everything is kind of tentative, so that everybody understands. I think that we do have a couple tentative dates in August, right? We're not to tell everybody what those dates are or anything, but, just maybe be on the lookout, just to give people a heads up.
Yeah, so there's another festival that is in talks with us. There's obviously, I've worked out an Odeon tentative date, and we're also in negotiations with a new location to host Wrestle Rager. So, that would, if that happened, that would be the only kind of marquee event, because Wrestle Rager, it really is a standalone event anyway. There's
right.
Not a lot of, story things that really go that much into it. And now people may be upset, like, why would you go to a different place? We don't know what the situation is with Now That's Class. The building has been for sale for quite some time. We've heard that they've attempted to sell the actual business at different points in the last 2 years, and as well, that house that was very kind of, I guess, integral to the whole Wrestle Rager experience, we learned, like, was fully remodeled and sold for $500,000. So I don't think anybody who bought a house for $500,000 is going to be super pumped when Wrestle Rager comes to town. So yeah, we started. It's
safe to say that original window guy is no longer living in that house.
Correct, or second gen window guy. So. I just, and listen, we could be totally wrong, and, that's on us, but I just think that, it was worth having a conversation with different places, and there is a place that is interested. So, we have some preliminary discussions going on with that, and that would fall probably sometime in August, I would think, but, who knows? That's kind of where things are at. We do have kind of a loose tentative schedule at the Odeon, throughout the year, which And I think I have them holding like 4 more dates or something like that.
Well, so there you go, folks. There's the update. I'll tell you what, I'm going to look it up right now. I should have done that. But for anybody wondering about where to get tickets for this Great Lakes Geek Fest, and
they have an Eventbrite that they've sent out on their official Facebook, which is Great Lakes Geek Fest on Facebook. They have
the Eventbrite is not a there's no like name to it. It's generic Eventbrite and then a bunch of numbers. So
right, they don't have like a URL or anything like that. But and we're gonna send the ticket link out because this deal was like, okay, like we're doing it. And then, like, boom, they announce it as, like, we were looking for, we were working on our personal branding for the event. We're gonna call it something with, so there's a title within the AIW, like, universe of things, instead of calling it, like, Great Lakes WrestleFest. And, we were working on all that, and it's like, tickets are on sale. Because, we were going to do, so I did put the ticket link on the AIW Patreon for people that are on the AIW Patreon. That had, the link has been put up on there as well, and it will go out to the email list as soon as we get our graphic from our graphic guy, Jesse the Mark.
There you go, folks. So stay tuned on all of that. But that's the update on where things are. But let's go backwards a little bit, because there are some moments from our last show in April worth talking about, that everybody was really excited about. And we don't have to talk about the entire show, even though it was really fun and exciting, but there are certainly some highlights, as we've already been talking here for a while. Let's start with a match that people didn't know they were excited about, of course, because to kind of hit rewind, if you don't remember, folks, this whole thing was, again, a mystery card. So, Jocelyn Navarro comes out, and that's pretty exciting, especially because we had fans who were kind of really clamoring to see her in singles action, as we've rolled her out the couple fall shows, but she was a part of 40 Acres. She did some things. She got involved. She didn't necessarily have a match. People have seen her on Go for Broke, but this was their opportunity for her to have a singles competition, and folks were excited about that. But then to go even further comes her surprise opponent, making a huge splash and return to AIW. We get AK-47, Allison Kay, rolling in.
Yeah, when I was putting the cards together, I was trying to think of ways for them to be different, and I definitely wanted to have a women's match, either on both of the nights or at least one of the nights, depending on how things kind of came together. And I thought that Jocelyn has been having some pretty good showings throughout the Go for Broke stuff, and I just thought let's have her have a match. And I started kind of looking at the available talent, and I shot Allison Kay a text message, and we worked out a deal, and that was really that. It wasn't, there's nothing, there's not a lot of exciting, juicy stuff to the whole thing. It was just really like, who do I think would get a surprise, who was kind of synonymous with the AIW women's division of the past, I guess, we'll call it for now. And obviously, Jocelyn is, representative of, the future, kind of, maybe even trying to resurrect that, that whole division. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting story there. Allison Kay, was, AIW women's champion, had some of the most iconic matches. And, AIW history. Not just for women's matches, but period. Just had some of the most memorable matches ever. So I thought that she was kind of the perfect person for that spot, and I put her in there with Jocelyn. So because Jocelyn has had she's wrestled prior to coming to the AIW school, and especially throughout this area. And I think since coming to the AIW school, she really wants to showcase her improvements. So I wanted to put her in there with a top tier talent.
There was a very memorable moment in this match, John. I don't know if you actually got to see it, but it's been talked about by quite a few people. And that's when AK actually tears off Jocelyn's eyelashes. Did you know about
savage.
this?
Yeah, she's savage,
A lot of folks very uncomfortable with watching that, it turned out.
There's a lot of things Allysin Kay has done throughout her wrestling career that has made crowds uncomfortable, and I think probably going forward there'll still be instances like that.
I did skip over one thing that's just interesting and fun to note, and people are kind of torn on what to think of this, but we had a new tag team debut on this show, with the aggravated accountant and the bitter banker coming out in masks to very obnoxious alarms.
That is like one of those things that in wrestling is kind of like fate. I was working on these cards, and we had the Jollyville Fuckets prepared, like ready to come back, and they were going to be on one of the nights, and then it was, well, they can't do both, they can only do Friday. And then something happened and they had to pull off. I didn't really specifically ask why, but like within 15 minutes of that, and I was just like, okay, well, they're not advertised, I'll figure this out. I was at work. Within 15 minutes of that, I get a text message from Lewis Linden, who I've not heard from in a while, and it was just like, hey, John, like, I think, the captain of the ship has, run its course. And then he gave me this written out pitch in a text message about this new, this kind of repackaging, and I was just like, well, let me see. And it was just like, I wasn't sure about it. Obviously it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it sounds like it could also work at the same time. And I was thinking, and I was moving the cards around and moving different things around, and I just was kind of like, all right, fuck it. Like, I've, throughout the history of this podcast, I've, discussed how underappreciated I think Lewis Linden is as a performer. And, regardless of how people thought about his captain of the ship push or whatever, he always delivers no matter who he's in with, and he's one of those guys that can work with pretty much everybody. So, I went, well, yeah, I guess so. Let's try it out. But what I said was, why don't you guys wrestle in masks? That was my input on the whole thing was, well, why don't you wrestle as masks? Because on Go for Broke, we've been featuring these enhancement type matches. So I thought that, especially with how ridiculous their names are, the bitter banker and the angry accountant, if they came
aggravated accountant, John.
Aggravated accountant, I'm sorry. If they came out in, cheap lucha masks, people were going to take the bait that, it was just going to be like a squash match.
And they did. People very much did. I don't know if you've seen on Twitter or listened to their podcasts, but everybody anticipated for bulking season to be thrown a squash match here and for it to be over in a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And not only was that not the case, but the 9 to 5, by the way, is the name of this tag team. They win, and then we get the big reveal. And I think the reveal worked.
In retrospect, I wouldn't have even had them cut a promo. You know, I would have just had them reveal and leave. And for people unaware, Jack Verville, he was in AIW like over 12 years ago, I think. Like, I would have to do research on that or consult Wadsworth, but he was in AIW in like the real kind of growing pains years, like after, like, where it was like the first like 2 years were very, you know, hot, and then like it turned into like a real struggle. Like, Jack Verville was in AIW in those days, which I don't think many people remember that come to the shows now. But that's just kind of a little historical fact that he ran a stable called the Jack of Love, which, you know, I'm sure you can find some of those matches on Smart Mark Video. Maybe there's even some on IWTV right now. But, you know, Jack is a guy that's, you know, he's been around. And, you know, he trained with Louis Linden. So, you know, I just think, you know, it's ridiculous, but it's also, you know, they're heels, but it's kind of fun and it's kind of silly. And I think it kind of fits, you know, in the kind of AIW fabric, so to speak. I don't know that 9 to 5 works everywhere, but I think in the AIW kind of universe, it certainly has a chance to be something. And that's really what I like about AIW is, like, we're not married to any sort of like rule set or type of wrestler or any of that. Like, it can, you know, there's a lot of room for creativity there. I know that they are going to be producing some different promos and different things to kind of give more depth to the whole thing. And I think it's going to be one of those things to where, you know, they're heels, but I kind of feel like people are going to kind of like it. I don't know, you know, like it's, you know, I saw Thrift Store Jobber, who was a Louis Linden's #1 hater, and he was just like, I think I like him now. So I don't know, you know, I don't know what it's going to be, but, you know, we'll see.
Well, you know, there's obviously other matches on this card, and it's a lot of fun, and you guys can look it up, but for time reasons, we're just kind of covering some highlights here. And the biggest one, we have to talk about it. For many people, it was arguably the match of the weekend between both shows. And I have seen some people say that that's going to be a hard match to top for promotions all over in terms of 2021. But Dominic Garrini comes out after having already a great match with Lee Moriarty on Thursday night. Music hits. People are kind of unsure about whose music this is because it's a really old throwback, and we didn't exactly get the 100% accurate one. But people are noticing there's a sellout in the crow's nest.
Doesn't exist anywhere. We couldn't find it. I mean,
yeah,
Traxler's computer fucking lost it.
There is a locker room sellout in the crow's nest. I've seen and heard some people say that they noticed that. Everybody wondering, all right, who is Dom facing? And I would say arguably the loudest reaction you will ever hear from 120 people happens as Eddie Kingston comes through that curtain.
Yeah, I mean, so that is why I was so concerned about the whole Sabu debacle, because I wanted two really big but really different surprises. And people may disagree, but I feel like if Sabu was hidden and brought into that venue the way that Eddie Kingston was, the pop for Sabu would have been very big. I'm not going to say it would have rivaled the Kingston one. I knew Kingston was the story of the weekend, but I wanted there to be something on Friday, for those or on Thursday for those people that didn't come on Friday. You know what I mean? And it was just, I'm trying to think of how it went, but I just randomly, I was kicking around different ideas, and at one point, there were some. I'm actually, you know what? I'm not going to reveal the at one point, because the at one points are probably going to happen. So, there were some ridiculous ideas going around, and I don't want to go to the I don't know, I don't want to call it the favor well, but kind of the favor well, you know what I mean? To where I don't want to have to rely on the people that have gone on to great success, to come and kind of give AIW a charity or something like that,
Sure, okay.
But I think I want to say that maybe I put an Instagram story up or something, and Kingston replied to it, and I just replied "Hey, what are you doing on this date?" And it kind of started from there. It was just kind of a very real organic thing, to where it was just
he was I think that he I know that he was sharing our ticket links. We hadn't announced any lineups, obviously, but he was putting out there.
He always does that.
Right,
there are people that do that. Shayna does that still. There are certain people that will always retweet our stuff.
And he was just saying, "Hey, go support my guys at AIW."
Right. And
it was just something simple like that. Yeah.
But it happened it happened on Instagram. That's legit. It was just "Hey, what are you doing April 30th?" And I could have asked him, "What are you doing both days?" But I didn't want to, because I wanted it to be one day and make it more special. And there are people that heavily disagree with my decision to not advertise, especially this, or not send them out there for a promo and then say tune in an hour. But I think that providing moments like this builds so much more equity than getting more people talking on on Twitter. You know what I mean? Or getting more views for that night. I wanted those 120 people to fucking have a great memory, because if they have a great memory, they're going to come to the show that's might not be that great, or might not have that kind of the high caliber talent. Because there are people that are "Oh, who's on the show? Oh, I'm not going." You know what I mean? But
sure.
If we can give those 120 an unforgettable moment, maybe they're always going to fucking come. That's my mindset.
Well,
and there's no way to prove it. There's no way to prove that. But to me, as a wrestling fan, the most exciting things, when I was a teenager, is watching an ECW pay-per-view and there's a big surprise, or watching Raw, or watching the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? Those are the most exciting things for wrestling fans, I feel. And yeah, I could have advertised it, and it could have resulted in more money. But that's for a day. I want support forever. So it's just what's the trade-off there? Do I try to make money right then and there, or do I try to build equity with the fans and trust with the fans, and hope that they're going to be there for AIW when the chips might be down, because let's be honest, like if you look at the climate and the type of money being thrown around for contracts, it's inevitable that we're gonna go through some growing pains in the near future, So I felt like let's try to build some equity with those 120 people and hope it goes far. But like I said, it was like hey, what are you doing on April 30th? And we go back and forth. Well, actually, I go, well, so what's the taping schedule? Because AEW has been like live, tape, off the following week. And it just so happened that we were on one of those off weeks. And, I just went from there, and it was just like, hey, I don't really know. I haven't really done any. You have to ask the office. So I said, okay, well, who do I ask? And I contacted AEW Talent Relations, and I mean, props to them, because literally I sent that email at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. I got a reply in 2 minutes. And it was just like, yes, he can do it. Please follow this, and this protocol. They kind of laid out like rules for us. And, I said, no problem. I have no problem. It wasn't like they were asking for the world. It was very reasonable. Like, hey, we just want to make sure that, our guy is going to, a safe environment, and, we're abiding by COVID restrictions and things like that. And, there were a couple other terms involved, and I said, yeah, no problem. And they said, okay, we'll mark it down. He's good to go. And I took a screenshot of that, and I sent it to Kingston, and he said, okay, I'm in. Fly me in Friday. I'll go home on Sunday. I'll spend the day with you. I'll spend the day in Cleveland, and then I'll go home on Sunday. And, that was really it. But I knew without a shadow of a doubt that if nobody saw him, they were going to lose their fucking minds. And I was pissed. Like, I was pissed because while I appreciate, there were fans fucking in line at 2 p.m. on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
And when I was walking in I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? Don't you guys want to be surprised? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, come on. Like, and I mean, I didn't say it in a mean way, but it was just like, fucking, like, it was one of those, like, come on, like, get out of here. Like, I'm working on something so cool.
Was it a, oh, come on.
That you guys, right. It was like a fucking Brian Carson, oh, come on, and fucking go for broke. I was like, come on, like, go take a walk, come back, like, tickets are already bought, like, it's assigned seating, you don't have to be in line. And, so it was just like one of those things, like, come on, like, just please give me this, like, no spoiler, no leak, organic feeling. And, I mean, you were kind of involved in the sneaking him in part. So yeah. I guess I'll let you talk to that.
Yeah, we rolled up, and of course, I don't even remember what time he got in, but he got in at like
1 o'clock.
Yeah, it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock or something like that, and we grabbed something to eat real quick, and we did drive-through action because I didn't know who was going to be off for the day. Eddie Kingston's a big fan of My Friends. But I said, we can't go to My Friends because I don't know if AIW fans are going to be there. That's going to ruin it. But we have Manser with us too. And so we get back to the house, drop his stuff off. We roll, and I roll in. I've got Mance, Eddie, Levi, and Braden Lee was with them. So the upside here is because you reach out and say, hey, there are a bunch of fans here, just so you know, we've already got all of these other guys in the car, some of, that they've seen the night before. So there's potentially a way, if we just get a lot of people outside and this whole group goes towards the door, they're not going to necessarily see Eddie. They're just going to see a couple of them like, it's the guys we saw last night. Okay, no big deal. There are also plans for him to put stuff over his head to cover himself going in. But I message whoever and say, look, one of the student group chats, I think.
And I'm going in the student groups like, get out there and make a fucking human wall. Make a human wall.
But I roll up and there's like, if you've paid attention to the Odeon, there is like next to it is kind of like a garage door and there's like a little bit of a driveway. So I just rolled up and parked right on the sidewalk and pulled literally right up to the Odeon door. Thankfully, there were no fans actually around that we saw. So we opened up the door, grabbed his bag real quick, and he was into the Odeon. And then I got annoyed with him because he's standing near the doorway when we are there. And the one thing about Eddie,
like when we are right, like when we're like 15 minutes away from opening doors, and he's like, hey brother, what's going on, Pedro? What's up, brother? And like he's like right at the door, like, Eddie, get the fuck out of here! Like go upstairs, like get out of here. Like,
it's not just him being seen, but there's that undeniable voice. Yes, and he's so loud. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. I was having flashbacks to when you were at the hospital when we had The Godfather, and I had to go out to The Godfather and be like, hey man, you're giving away the meet and greet here in the parking lot. Get your ass inside. And I'm like,
yeah. So I was like, Eddie, come on, man, get the fuck out. Go upstairs. Get out. Oh, sorry.
His argument is, why can't I just be, nobody knows I'm here to wrestle. I could just be here hanging out with you, Steve. I'm just here to go to the draft with you this weekend. I'm just hanging out. I'm like, okay, but it would still be a fucking surprise that you're here even just to hang out for the draft. So fucking go upstairs and be not seen.
Yeah, so I was having anxiety after he was in the building because he kept walking back and forth in front of that door. And I'm like, dude, get the fuck in the back. Come on. Everyone's going to be back there that you want to see. Just go back there right now.
Yeah. I will say that standing in the ring, I made a self-conscious effort to just have a stone cold face before the music hits and comes out, because obviously my relationship with him is well documented. And I
will say that the not custom music, the build up made it seem so much more ominous, and it almost added to it, so I guess Traxler made a good mistake there, but he had it and he's like, okay, I found it, and then like it was his like laptop wouldn't connect to the fucking Odeon Wi-Fi, and like he couldn't get it to download, like, and then he got it and it was like a corrupted file or something, you know what I mean? To where it was like, it wasn't the actual MP3 file. And I was just like, okay, just, I think it's like Blueprint 2 or something.
Yeah.
I was like, just go with this and just let it play. And, this is going to be the easiest. So he did, and, there's that long buildup, and everyone was just like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know this music.
We got the fog machine going.
And, what kind of juice did you have in the fog machine? What kind of juice did we have?
It was
extended fog juice.
It was not. It was just like a lighter haze, so that it would.
That's a whole other podcast about Go for Broke production. Steve Guy fucking presenting a fucking spreadsheet of the different types of fog juice that we can fucking implement into the presentation. But I watched it from the balcony, and I know it sounds cheesy and I know it sounds corny, but I legit got goosebumps when he walked through the curtain and the place realized it and went nuts. Like, that was everything that I was looking for all weekend. That was like, I mean, that was the fucking epitome of please give me this every single weekend. Like, this is what we've all been missing for the last 14 months, you know, was a fucking loud and wild AIW crowd. And while they were reactionary and happy to be there Thursday and Friday, that was like, holy shit, like, we fucking are alive again. You know what I mean? Like, that was like,
yeah,
here we go. You know, this is the fucking, you know, like, it's real. It's fucking real again. Like, AIW is back, and people fucking went nuts. And it was just like, this is what it is all about. Like, this is what I wanted. 80% of my ideas never fucking play the way that they're intended to, or they get fucked up, or, you know what I mean? Like, that was the perfect fucking finally, like, yes. And I legit got goosebumps, and that has, I don't think, ever happened at an AIW show to where I felt like that genuine emotion like that from the crowd.
And there's so much that went into it too, like, as you've talked about, but also, you know, Eddie gets signed during the pandemic, and so it's suddenly, I think, this thought comes over all of our AIW fans. While everybody's very excited for him, there's the notion that, man,
they're never going to see him again in that environment.
And we didn't get a goodbye, right? Like, we didn't get a proper AIW send-off, which one of the coolest things was AIW fans love to welcome everybody back. You get the welcome back chants, and Eddie gets the welcome home. And I was like, man, that's what it's about. That's so cool. And even Dom was fired up in the ring.
Well, cause the fucking stupid ass cock cutter guy was fucking talking shit, and Dom knows that this is the moment of the weekend. Yeah. And this guy is always fucking going into business for himself in the crowd and trying to fucking get pops and shit. And Dom loses his mind because he knows that this is the whole 2 days. That is, and that's no disrespect to the fucking main event after them, but this was what was fucking gonna put AIW back on the map again. And Dom is losing his mind, saying, shut the fuck up. I thought Dom was legit going to go into the crowd and fucking put that guy out, because Dom was losing his mind because he was like, do not fucking take away from what is about to happen. And, yeah, I mean, it was they could have had the worst match ever, which they didn't, but they could have.
No, yeah, they didn't at all.
And, like, people would have loved it, you know, and they made people so much more excited for the main event. Like, it was just the perfect fucking storm.
Can we pull back the curtain on this main event now, real quick? Now that we've talked about Eddie, everybody knows, obviously, Eddie Kingston blew the main event. Here's how it was supposed to go down. I get pulled to the back, and I'm talking to, I think, to you and to Justice, and the whole thing is, let's not say it's the main event. Let's just go to the next match is. Next match, music hits. Let's not say that this is going to be a title match. Let's not do anything. Let's just, here we go. Next match, boom. Somebody, Justice comes out first. Okay, well, who could he be wrestling? Because Steve didn't say it's a title match. Steve didn't say it's the main event. He could be wrestling anybody. And then everybody gets excited that, oh shit, we're getting Bishop and Justice one more time here in the Odeon. And leave it to Eddie Kingston. You guys got a great main event. It's fucking these two maniacs.
Yeah, and everyone just kind of went. Because it was like one of those on the fly things where Justice is like, let's just fucking say it's not the main event. So people think the show is just going to keep going and getting crazier. And then Kingston gets the mic and says, the main event's coming up next. Oh, fuck. We went through all this shit. Like, we're on the radio. Like, Steve, get back here. We're making the switch. Like, we're fucking switching the order of the music. We're fucking telling the lighting guy. We're telling this fucking Traxler's got to rearrange his fucking playlist. We're doing all this shit. And then Kingston says, we got a great main event coming out right now. We're like, oh, fuck. Okay.
But yeah, I mean that was funny. It was still, doesn't matter how much time has passed. It's still Eddie Kingston being Eddie Kingston, Eddie being Eddie right there. And just we're so happy to see him, and there was that great loving moment, and then he still does that, and you're still like, come on, man, what the fuck? But yeah, awesome way to cap it all off. And then I guess the only other thing to say is outside of that, we of course Eddie stays with me still when he's here, and we decided to make a day of it on Saturday, hanging out, doing stuff. And we say, John Thorne, come meet us for dinner at the Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, he got recognized, and it was so funny.
You know, the crazy thing is, this is his first time really outside of Florida since he's been signed, because it was all during the pandemic. He hasn't gone anywhere. He hasn't done anything. So this is his first show.
That was so, like, and he was so, you could tell he was so uncomfortable by it.
He turned red, man.
Because this guy comes up and he's like, do you watch wrestling? And we're all like, whoa, where's this going?
And
he's like, you are the spitting image of this guy, Eddie Kingston, that's in All Elite Wrestling. Kingston's like, oh, cool. I never heard of it. And then, like, the guy's like, I got to get a picture of this guy because he looks just like you. And then he's like, it is me. And the guy's like, oh, my God. Or, like, full, like, oh, my God, Eddie Kingston is eating in the Parma Outback. I cannot believe this. Like, change this guy's fucking life for the day.
It did. Yeah. It's like, do you live up here? And like, do you live in Parma?
It was just,
like, no.
And then, like, you know, we're all sitting there, and it's just like so uncomfortable for us, because it's just like, I guess he's famous now, you know, like, I guess he's a famous guy now, you know. He is on fucking the #1 show on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
He did main event of fucking pay-per-view, I'm pretty sure, right? Like, that was the main event. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. And it was, I mean, you're right. It was so weird.
So fun. It was so funny though. It was fucking funny.
But it was really cool. I mean, like, for me, that's become one of my best friends, and it's another level of excitement, because there's a guy who has worked his ass off and has tried to get to that level for so many years, and man, here it is, dude. Here's the level you wanted to get to.
I actually thought about it, and Eddie Kingston's first booking in AIW was in 2007.
Wow.
That's crazy. You know, like, that was his first booking was in 2007. So, I mean, he's been kind of in and out of AIW for a long, long, long time. And from there, we went to the bar Party Parker Pierce works at. And he gave an equal reaction to the waiter at Outback. He goes, holy shit, Eddie Kingston came to my bar.
It just announces it, shouts it, and then he's like, whole bar.
He's like, you know, All Elite Wrestling, that's Eddie Kingston. What? And, you know, like, they know each other, but he couldn't believe that if Eddie Kingston's in town, you know, we were just like, oh, you know, what's a bar that we could go to? And, you know, he's always bartending on Saturday, so we just, like, went in there because it's in Parma, and we were eating in Parma.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's just go here. And he's like, holy shit, Eddie Kingston. You guys watch AEW? It's Eddie Kingston. He's in here. It's like, holy shit. He's calling people, you know, like, Eddie Kingston is in the bar tonight.
And he's been on shows with Eddie at AIW.
Yeah, no, they know each other, but he was like, holy shit, he came to fucking my bar.
It was good. That was a really fun day. As exciting as Friday night was, all of those little things to Saturday, like, almost rivaled it, at least for us personally, I think.
Yeah, it was funny.
But you know, that was it. That wrapped that long, what ended up being a long weekend. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun. We're so happy that all of you came out, and now we look forward to everything else. June 18th, you already know it's sold out. We're gonna be streaming it though, and
we will be. Yeah, we're gonna be. I'm pretty sure we're streaming it. Pretty sure. That's another thing I have to get kind of organized with what's going on with all that stuff with IWTV. but I'm pretty sure that's going to stream live. I'll get confirmation on that. We'll be at Toy Hio. Then the following day.
Yep.
With if you can't get tickets to AIW and you still want to meet Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, Smart Mark Sterling, and you've probably met Swoggle at this point if you come to AIW, but they will all be at Toy Hio in Girard, Ohio, and that place is gigantic. So like they are nowhere near capacity. There's no capacity issues anymore anyway, but it's only $5 to get into that. So if you want to meet those guys, they will be at Toy Hio, I'm pretty sure, until 2 o'clock, I believe. So I think it's from 9 to 2 p.m. So get out there early, because we're not releasing any more tickets to the AIW show. I would love to make a little extra money, but I just don't think it's right for us to do it just yet. But make sure you get out to Toy Hio on June 19th, and then from there we have, like I said, July 30th. We will be back at the Odeon. July 31st. Look for that ticket link coming to the email list probably sometime this week. We will be in Jefferson, Ohio. And then from there, we'll be announcing dates soon. All things considered, everything stays on track like it is right now. You could be looking at AIW on a regular basis once again. And like I talked about earlier, I believe we will kick off the official, road to redemption, so to speak, for AIW at Black Friday. And kind of, hopefully that will be our, final stamp on things are back to normal.
There you go. There you have it, folks. So, of course, if you don't already, follow on social media at AI Wrestling everywhere. And that being said, for AIW owner John Thorne, my name's Steve Guy. We will talk to you next time. I don't want to say next week. Whatever. We'll talk to you next time.
Maybe not next. It's a holiday weekend. Maybe not next week.
Yeah.
Maybe the week after next. How about that? That for sure will happen. Week after next. No guarantees for next week.
We'll talk to you next time right here on AIW's The Card is Going to Change.
Week after next.